What is going on, everybody? Sean Daniel here with Guitar Control. Today, we're going on an absolute fretboard journey. So pack your bags, because we're going to traverse is a better pronunciation of that word, the entire fretboard. So make sure to click the link below, because I'm going to tab out everything we're going to do. This is all going to be courtesy of a G major chord, but all this stuff is movable, so you'll kind of figure out what this means. But we're going to play this G major chord that everybody knows and loves, but we're going to find a way to expand it across the entire fretboard. Start making some connections between different notes, and then maybe different chord voicings also too, all right? So however you want to play a G major, the open G major we're going to start with. I've got the 3rd fret on the low E string, 2nd fret on the A string, open D string, open G string, 3rd fret on the B string. If you're a true legend, you can also add the 3rd fret on the high E string to get that fullness, that G-ness that we associate with this chord. But I want to talk about the notes that are in this. A G, a B, and a D. That's it. We're playing 6 strings right here, but they're all either the note G, B, or D. So when you think of a G major chord, I want you to always associate that with the notes G, B, D, all right? Single notes, any order, that's gonna give you a G major chord, right? 3rd fret on the E string is a G. 2nd fret on the A string is a B. The D string is a D. The G string is a G. 3rd fret on the D string, the B string is a D. 3rd fret on the high string is a G, okay? So, to kind of venture out of this open chord territory, which so often we kind of get stuck in without ever really even paying any attention to this part of the guitar, we're gonna start taking those notes and finding them in different places, all right? So if we have this root note, G, we can go to the next note in that chord, remember B. The 7th fret on the E string is a B. So aside from being a way to start incorporating different notes into your playing, it's a great way to kind of start learning different fretboard locations. You take a note, and then 4 frets higher, 2 steps, in music theory, speak, is gonna be the next note, G to B, right? G, A, B. A lot of times, if you're going from the 3rd fret to the 7th fret on the same string, or even just any kind of 4 fret distance, a lot of times it'll be cool to maybe hit the 5th fret and slide into the 7th fret. G to B. Now I realize it's actually a G, A, B, but sometimes it's kind of cool to, especially on a guitar, to arrive at a note with style, with panache. How much better does that sound then? Boring. Awesome, right? So we're gonna go the G, slide into the B, just like that, and then grab the D on the A string, which is the 5th fret on the A string. So 3E, 7E, 5A. Okay, this is called an arpeggio when we're playing that G major chord, one note at a time. G, B, D. All right, so we can start out with the chord. Already we're kind of making that G chord a little more lively just by adding those notes. But why would we stop there? The journey has not ended. We're going one farther, straight down a string to the 5th fret on the D string. That is an octave G, okay? The reason it's called an octave is because it's 8 notes away in the major scale, G major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, 5th fret on the D string, G note. Same thing as before, remember 4 frets? Now 4 frets is getting a little easier because remember the sizing, the spacing of the frets gets lesser as you go higher up the neck. So we can still slide into there, maybe if you just want to jump, whatever. Again, panache. That's gonna be my word of the day, panache. From 5D to 9D, which is a G, to a B. So already we're making connections. Here's a G, there's a B. There's another G, there's another higher pitched B. And then you guessed it, straight down, just like we did here, 3E, 7E, 5A. That same shape happens, 5D, 9D, 7G. All right? Now we can actually, those last 2, I want to focus on those last 2 notes that we did, because now we're going to add your middle finger to the 8th fret, which is a G note, 8th fret on the B string, and now we've got a new chord here. That's a G major chord right there, right? Totally different chord voicing. Maybe this is a little more familiar to you as a D-shaped chord, right? You probably know D major. Well, if you go through the musical alphabet, D, D sharp major, E major, F major, F sharp major, G major where your ring finger's on the 8th fret of the B string, which is where we ended up, that's going to be another way that we can start connecting these different chord voicings to each other, right? However you want to play it. This and this. Same chords, a slightly different voicing. As long as we know the root note, that G, is the 8th fret on the B string. Now, we don't even have to stop there. One more. Any good journey pushes the limits, pushes the envelope. That's exactly what we're doing today here on Guitar Control. G, B, D. All right, same thing. We have root note, 4 frets higher, 2 steps higher. You can slide into the B, which is really just the octave on the B string. End up on the 10th fret of the high E string, which is a D. That same shape. So we have this one shape, down string, the next one, and then kind of kitty corner here. And then all the way to here. 15th fret on the high E string is another G note, which is why it sounds good to end there, okay? So now again, this is just a straight up arpeggio version of this, but this isn't really an arpeggio lesson. It's more about just kind of like making connections between some of these chords. And then I want to talk about the last chord, the last voicing of a G major chord that we're going to do here, which we can see it a couple different ways. You can look at it just as the 12th fret of the D, G, and B string, if you want to do that. Right there. That's like an A major shape, but just right here on the 12th fret. Okay, works great. But I think to really have a proper fitting to this journey, a fitting end to this journey, is to end where we started, which is going to be, like I said, that 15th fret on the high E string. So I'm going to play it like this. All right, which is 12, 12, 12, 15. You don't have to get all 4 strings. You can maybe just get the bottom 3. Which again, this is a higher pitched version of maybe just this. Again, perfectly acceptable G chord. But now we kind of have a couple different locations where maybe we can start thinking about different ways to play this, right? So kind of like we did earlier in that example where it's like a G chord and then the notes. G chord, then into the notes. G chord, G, B, D. G chord, G, B, D. Maybe we can jump it from here into that D-shaped chord where if we ran them together, we end up at. But I really kind of want to see this as training your mind's eye to see all the available notes. Because if you just played, okay, here's a G chord, and then here are the notes of that G chord, like that sounds cool. But like, that's not super musical. It's kind of hard to really get that to vibe. That's just a straight up linear arpeggio, which again, it's cool to do that stuff. Again, but you know, musically, you want to see these as locations for where you want to go. So maybe I'll take just the very back end of that arpeggio. It's like, all right, I'm looking for something interesting. That 12th fret on the B string. That's going to be something I want to kind of use in this like musical context. So I'm just kind of jamming on a G chord. Maybe I go to the G. Okay, I'm just thinking of single notes. All right, this is a B. I can take this, I can slide it back to my home base. I can jump up to that high to kind of get something cool, slide it back. I feel like that's a more musical way to use this instead of like, okay, I'm just gonna add an arpeggio to my playing. I think it's a combination of being like, all right, here to a slide to another. That was just that voicing, that kind of D-shaped voicing. And that's kind of a cool way to play a G chord. You know, you're just playing one voicing to another. It's not super fancy, you're just going back and forth. Something like that. You know, I'm just going from the first voicing we did into part of the second voicing we did. And then maybe I always know, this is my root note, I can go to that 12th fret, G chord, voicing 2. So that's, you know, just a way to kind of jam on a G chord, but also you're getting familiar with all the different notes that go into a G major chord. Again, G, B, and D, never ever forget that. I'm gonna test you when you're not even on YouTube. My voice and likeness will just pop into your head asking you what notes are in a G major chord. It's gonna happen. Don't be too freaked out when it does. These are all movable, right? So if we have an A chord, right, you do open, you do bar chord. Again, same thing. Whatever the root note is, 2 steps up and then back. A chord and then any of these tricks are gonna work. So really just memorize one. I do think this arpeggio here, which we've done other lessons on too, is really one of the more valuable ones to learn, in my opinion. Really just kind of experimentation is what it's all about. Learn the fretboard as a journey, and then just take little pieces of it and then try to incorporate them into something that you already are familiar with, right? If you're just like jamming on a G chord all day, you know, that can get kind of boring, you know? So take a risk, roll the dice, do your thing. But definitely, if you have any questions on how to roll the dice, how to live life on the edge, hit us up in the comment section below. Also, make sure to check out these other videos from myself, other great instructors on the Guitar Control channel. Let us know what you want to see, what future journeys you would like to take, and we will do our best to get back to you. Thanks a lot.